What's up, everyone? Chris Kiblin here with the Suited Warrior Podcast. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As always, I am suited up with Tweed's Custom Suits. Check it out. All right, make sure you go check out Don or Rob over at Tweed's in Sarasota. They can hook you up. Make sure you tell them I sent to you. And, of course, also want to thank Robert Milligan for offering Preferred SHORE. They're a wonderful studio here in downtown Sarasota. And just really want to thank them for having us film here. So today we have a very special guest in the house, and you know, when I first met her, she was just so full of life, and I was like, this person needs to come on our podcast. I was like, because I was so impressed by her. So welcome, Johna.
Hello. Yes. Thank you for having me.
So hopefully I said that right?
Johna. For the record.
Right, Johna.
Yes.
See, I always screw people's names up. Last podcast screwed up Michael's name, so
that's all right.
It's like just I'm not going to say anybody's name anymore. So,
I'll forgive you.
Okay, thanks. So I wanted to have you on because, first of all, like I said, when I did first meet you, just the life, like the energy that you brought to the room, the different ways that you were, you know, you're just so full of life, and you know, and it's rare nowadays, you know, in a world that we are very negative, and everything is, the world is falling down, and you always, no matter what, are upbeat, always laughing, always smiling, you know, and you know, no matter what's going on in your day. So like I was like, your personality is definitely one of those ones that I wanted to share with our guests and really kind of just talk about it a little bit because I believe you just turned 30, right?
Yes.
So you're still pretty young, so hopefully I can talk about that.
Of course, sure.
But you know, I mean, you're fairly young and you're already quite successful with getting into the real estate market. You know, I know that's not the only thing that you do, but you know, so when did this all start for you? About a year and a half ago?
So yes, I got licensed about a year ago. Prior to that, I worked in property management for about a decade. Okay. So it was kind of an organic step up from property management up to real estate. But I just dove in head first. I went to as many things as I possibly could go to. Right. I met as many people as I possibly could, and just, you know, really solidified a lot of those relationships. And here I am today, working for Preferred SHORE, living the dream, you know, in Women's Council of Realtors leadership, and just, you know, really working the networking scene for sure.
Yeah, because you're always out everywhere that I see you, and you go to a lot of different events,
yes.
And you know, and so let's kind of also like talk a little bit about that because you also are a business owner,
yes,
as well.
Yes,
you do own.
So I own Beauty and the Board,
right.
Which is a charcuterie and grazing table business.
Right, which is pretty freaking amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So I am a business owner. I've owned that business for about two years or so. We do customized charcuterie and grazing tables for your brokers' opens, which we're going to host one together, you and I, at the end of this month.
This month, yep.
Yeah.
We haven't even made that official yet. So
no. I hope that I'm allowed to.
No, we haven't even put that out, but yes.
By the time this comes out, we should be good. Yep. But we do brokers' opens. We do open houses. We do your closing gifts. When I first created Beauty and the Board, it was geared towards just any kind of consumer, really. But what I've really loved is watching it evolve as I've gotten more involved in the real estate industry. Watching Beauty and the Board be more like focused towards those types of clients has been really fun for me, because when I get to do a broker's open with you, who I know, love, and work with, and with all of the other agents that I know so well, there's something really special that happens when both of those worlds can kind of combine. So I love doing that. And now it's getting to the point where we're kind of really only doing the realtor networking clients currently. Right. So
because it's pretty cool when I sit there and I watch you and I see some of these boards that you've done, and you use the company's name, or you do other things that are on there. So like, I mean, that's what I thought was pretty neat, and the way that because they are pretty fascinating. So, you know, I don't know if you have a website or whatever, but you can tell somebody go to your page or whatever. So
you can find us on social media.
So, but like, you know, the thing is, they're actually pretty neat. And then, you know, when we were planning our brokers open at the end of this month, was like, okay, well, what can we do? Because this is going to be a high-end, brokers open. It's in a $4.2 million home. It's going to have on top of it has a putting green. So it's going to be pretty cool. And so like we were like, how can we make this even
How can you
more
elevate
special?
it?
Yeah. And how do we make it elevate it, make it more special, and really want to attract, the right buyers and that kind of thing with it. So that's where you came into play. I was like, I got the girl.
I love it. I love it.
I was like, I knew, because we didn't want to go real heavy, but it's like, it's perfect. It's a perfect grazing thing.
Yep.
That's what people like, right? When they're out and they're having, you just want to have like a small little social function or whatever. It's nice. Like, you don't want big meals. I mean,
of course.
You just want to go grab a few things and have your drink in one hand. And so
when I say it's customized, I really mean that, it's very customized to you. We can put little messages, quite literally made out of cheese for you. So we've had other brokers opens where they did welcome home in cheese, and then we've had other ones where they did the actual address. So we can really make it special for whatever that event is. And if it's a closing gift, it might say thank you, or it might say home sweet home. So we can really get customized product for you. It really does elevate whatever that event is. So of course it serves the purpose of feeding your guests, right? But it really it serves as a focal point, and it's almost like edible art that it really elevates what you guys are doing. So we're very excited for your brokers open, and by we I mean me and me, because I'm my only employee. So we will be there.
You will be there.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, let's also look back. Okay, before you got started into doing that, and before you got started in doing real estate, and everything that you're doing now, and you were doing the property management. So, let's go even farther back. So, were you always like this, as far as this outgoing person as a child and everything else, or
no? Not really. I'm born and raised in Sarasota, Florida. What changed for me is honestly finding God and feeling like, I walk around on a day-to-day basis with the joy of the Lord. And I constantly get this comment that you have, complimented me with this like big personality and this aura and all of that. And it really is, it's just, I walk with the Holy Spirit, and people can feel that. So
and you change rooms when you walk into them.
I have gotten that, and I don't, and it's so funny because I don't. It's not anything
and it's
coming.
Not, like, it's not ego, because
it's not.
It's totally different. It's very sincere, and so that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you walk into a room and your aura about you changes the trajectory of that, right? So I can just see it. Not very many people have that, and so that's why I was asking, is because the thing is like, where did that come from? Where did you get that? Because I tell you, I get so tired of being on social media and seeing all the negative stuff. Everything's negative. The world's falling down. Everything's negative. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe this. You wouldn't believe that. We all have life issues. We all have stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
So what are we going to do to change it? Why be upset about every little thing?
And it's easy to do. It's easy to fall into that.
And that's why I asked. I was like, what did something change in you? Something make that way?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I mean,
something did change in me.
So that's the thing, is so a lot of people probably don't know where that came from or how that happened, right? And so that's why we do these, right? Because it's like, okay, I mean, if you and I were just sitting at the bar, would we be talking about that? Probably not. So
well, if you're talking to me, maybe,
but you know
because
what I mean?
do. I get that. I get that comment a lot, and truly, what it is like, when we're saved, we're called to be a light wherever we are, and that's what you're seeing. That is truly what you're seeing. So anytime I get that compliment, I try really hard to be honest with what it is, But I've been so fortunate, and God has really fast-tracked my career in a sense of opening up doors that I never thought that I belonged in, to rooms that I never thought that I had a seat at the table at. And I watched God say, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this well, and I'm going to make sure that you're in the rooms that you need to be in, and that He's going to put my name on the hearts of the people that He wants me to do business with, to fast track me to where it is that He wants me and where I need to go. And I've watched Him do that for the last year. There's no other explanation. There truly isn't.
You know about my story last year and how I got sick.
Yeah.
And I really do, kind of falling out of that, like, over the years. When I was a kid, I was an altar boy, and I went through Catholic school, and I went through all that kind of stuff. But over the years, I kind of lost faith in it. And then last year, when I got so sick, and then I almost died twice, kind of changed all that.
Absolutely.
Yes. And it re-announced my faith in a lot of ways. And
I love
so,
that.
because the thing is like, there was a reason why I didn't die.
Exactly.
And there's a reason why I was still put here.
Yep.
And so I just look at it from the standpoint is something like that was meant to happen. And whatever that reason is, I don't know if it was that, it's, but there was a reason why I was supposed to be here. So like, and so many people, it gets tough, and I get it. It's tough. I mean, people have lost, many people, or things have happened to families, and they lose that faith because of whatever happened to them. But there's also a lot of good in the world that happens too.
Yes.
And so we can't always just look at the negative.
Yes.
And so,
if it's not good, it's not done. And God is never responsible for these really terrible things that happen. I know your story well, and I know what happened to you, and you did almost die twice, but he can use it for your good. Yeah. And he will. So
I think we just need to sometimes sit back and think about it, right? And, at our worst days or our worst times or whatever it might be, I mean, we're sitting there and we're yelling at somebody because we're stuck in traffic. It's just like,
it's so
why?
easy to do.
It's so easy. And I still find myself every once in a while, and I'll yell, I'll be like, are you kidding me? I was like, snowbird season's here, traffic's ridiculous. And I had to catch myself, and I'll be like, I start getting upset, and I'm like, why am I getting upset? This is stupid.
Yep. I'm saved. I'm not perfect. That's not the same thing.
So it's like, so I do, there's still times that I do have to catch myself, but at the same time, sometimes it's out of your control. I mean, you can't stop traffic. You can't, like, it is what it is. So like little things like that, there's things that are going to happen. So then you've gone in. So you went. Now, did you go straight into property management after high school, or?
I did, of course. Like every good person, I went into serving a little bit. Which I think that everyone should. Yes. Well, it's the gateway into everything, right?
I was a server for a minute.
But I think that everyone should be a server at some point in their life, so that they can appreciate. Yes. So I served for like a little bit of time, and then I did jump into a leasing position at a multifamily property, and then I quickly moved up in that position as well. And by the time that I was leaving property management, I had 320 multifamily units that I was managing. I had several staff members, groundskeepers, maintenance guys, maintenance supervisors. We had leasing consultants, assistant property management. I mean, we had all of that. I was also living on site too. Okay. And so that very much took a toll on my mental health, as far as having no separation of work and home life. And also, it was very tough because the name of the game for a lot of the multifamily properties, they have owners that come in and buy them for $100 million, whatever the price tag was. Our last one sold for like $150 million. I'm not joking. But they buy them, right? And then they hold them for 2 to 5 years. They put in they put in $20 million worth of renovations. They flip everything. They put in new amenities and all of that. And then they turn around and sell them, right? So that really set me up with a very unique set of skills, having gone through that process so many times. But what it also did was there was no stability, meaning every time a new owner would buy and sell, I didn't know if I had a job. I didn't know if I had a place to live, because this new owner comes in and they might already be working with a third-party management company. They might already have their own team of people ready to go to take your job. So I was just kind of done with that wishy-washy, really unstable type of career, and wanted something more for myself. I remember I moved out. I bought a house and I got licensed in real estate all in the span of like 60 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about a new chapter, a new season.
Everything.
Yes. So, and like I said, I really just jumped in. I spent the first 6 months while I was licensed really trying to connect with as many people as I possibly could, whether that be lenders like yourself, whether that be people through the associations like RAISM, like Women's Council of Realtors, as well as other agents. I soon came to find that my superpower really was connecting with people and connecting with other agents. And I've been really fortunate to work along Preferred Shore to be able to grow the company in that way as well. Yeah. So.
Because you've taken quite a bit of steps here. So
yes.
In a short period of time, right? So you became a realtor, and then next thing you know, you became, we'll talk about this too, the president-elect for the Women's Council.
Yes, I did.
Right? I mean, this is all in a short period of time.
Yes.
And next year you'll be president, right?
Yes.
And so, like, I mean, especially how fast it is. But I go back to the personality. A lot of that is your personality.
Yeah.
And that people see that and they want that. They
Yeah.
want that in their life, right? And so, just like I wanted to have you on the podcast because of it. And so, like, you know, the thing is like when you bring that personality every day and you show up every day like that, that's a different way of looking at things. So, like, you know, they saw that. The Women's Council saw that. Robert saw that because now you're working with Robert,
yes.
helping growing the company here.
Yes.
And so, like, you know, that's the thing is like people see how you are and they're like, I want a piece of that. I want, you know, I want her, you know, and I mean, they see the potential and, you know, and what you bring to the table. And, you know, most people don't get that kind of, you know, especially that quickly. It takes time. I mean, but you did the right things, right? You went out. I was the same way when I started and when I first moved down here and once I got into the lending world. I was at every event. I was going everywhere. I was being everywhere. Like when I moved here, I'm not from here, and I didn't know one person. I didn't have family here. I didn't have nobody here. It was just me and my family that I brought with me, and that was it. And so, like, I had to go out and meet people and start building relationships and being out at all the different social functions. And
look
really
at you now. Literally, you know everyone in this town,
so
especially in this industry.
Yeah.
I mean, truly.
Well, it's just, you know, the thing is that I always tell people, because what's crazy is that coming from Maryland and Baltimore, you know, I don't think they have as many realtors there as they do here, but it's still a very small town here. And it's very, you know, I mean, you still kind of...
It isn't.
Yeah, it's weird.
There are over 9,000 licensed realtors in the Sarasota and Manatee associations. That's crazy. That's a lot. So when you say it's a small town feel, it is, but there's also...
There's a lot. I know.
Yeah,
it's like, it's weird.
Very
it's different.
saturated.
There's a lot. And so, like, you know, but you also see that maybe, you know, I don't know, top 2% are the same people that do most of the business.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, and so, and they're the ones that you do see out, and they're the ones you do see doing a lot of business.
Yeah. I think it was, what was the statistic? It was like 70% of realtors didn't sell one home in 2024.
Yeah,
and the market was
Same
not
thing with
a great
lenders.
market, you know. Yeah.
So like in lenders, so I think it was 2022, we had over, I think it was 2022. Yeah, 2022 we had over 300,000 loan officers in the country. Then 2023 it dropped just to about 150. And then 2024, only 90,000 renewed their license.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's how this kind of tells you how the market's shifting.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because it's, you know, it's like they're getting out of the business because it's tough. It's tough with interest rates being where they're at. There's tough with the house pricing being where they're at. And, you know, and the thing is like, I knew this day was going to come. So part of the reason that I worked as hard as I worked and built it is because it was coming. We knew it was coming. It was just like, but what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And if I didn't set myself up, because like I can tell you now, like, not that you can't do it, because I don't want to ever tell anybody they can't do it, because you can do it if you put in the time, but it's a lot harder right now, right? I mean, it's not an easy market. The rates are higher. The house pricing's higher. Like, so I get people will call me and be like, hey, I've been thinking about coming to a lender. I was like, okay, well, are you ready to work 7 days a week? Are you ready to work from the time that you get up to the time you go to bed? Because that's what it takes, just like a realtor. Right?
You're also describing a realtor.
Oh, yeah, we're very similar. I mean, we really are in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, and because the thing is like, that's the only way that you can do it.
And there's this false narrative out there that, you know, and I've had so many people reach out to me because, you know, I'm big on social media and I do all of these things but I've had so many people reach out to me wanting to get licensed, and I always encourage them in doing that. But I also feel like I owe it to them, like, hey, it's not all what you think it
Sunshine
is
and rainbows.
based on all of these realtors and what they post and all these TV shows that are out there. It's real work. It's real hard work. You have to go and find your next meal, per se. You know, you really have to have that entrepreneurial type. No,
if you don't close a deal.
You do not get paid unless you are at the closing table.
Exactly. Same thing with my world.
And it's frustrating to see all these, people assume that realtors don't deserve their paycheck and they're getting paid too much, and we could sit here and do a whole episode on all the lawsuits and all of that. But you have realtors out there that they really deserve what they're getting paid. They
absolutely.
really do.
I see
they
what they
work
go through.
Really hard.
What they go through. Me being on the lending side and seeing what they're dealing with, and stuff that pops up, and it's just crazy some of the stuff that goes through what a realtor has to go through with the inspections and making sure, because you're kind of like the quarterback of everything, right? You're making sure the home gets inspected, you're making sure they get everything done with the lender, you're making sure that the sellers are happy. There's just a lot going on that you've got to maneuver throughout the process, and so you've got to be able to be like, okay, there's a lot of different things that you've got to look out for. Right?
A lot of moving parts. It is a big puzzle. And that's why it's important to partner with lenders and other vendors throughout that process that you really trust, that can step in if they need to and save a deal, right? Whether that's a roofer because you need a new roofer, whether that's a home inspector, lender, whatever it is, that's the power of networking as well. It's going to these events and starting these connections with these people that you're going to do your business with. You're going to run your business. And at the end of the day, when I'm working with a client and they expect me to recommend someone to them, you better know that you're an extension of me at that point.
Exactly.
So, I really have to trust you at that point in order to recommend to my clients.
Because the last thing that you want is, so let's just say you're referring somebody to me. The thing is like your hope is, and this is the way every person should go down, is that they will send you referrals. Right? That's how you build your business. And so referrals are going to be the best thing that they can ever send to you. So that's the thing. You want to build that relationship with that client to get those referrals. But if you refer them to the wrong person, to the wrong lender, wrong title company, wrong home inspector, whatever it might be, and that deal quickly turns ugly, that's a reflection on you.
Of course.
It's not a reflection on, we still have a reflection on us as well, but the thing is, it's also more of a reflection on you because you referred us.
Of course.
And so, that's the thing. So, future referrals may not be coming because somebody else screwed up on their job.
Yep.
And that's hard, because the thing is and not only that, this is where, I try to explain to when I have loan officers that work for me or talking about the business, is you got to realize, so I am an extension of you and doing whatever I do, right? So I need to make sure that you're going to be happy with my services as well, not just my clients, because in a lot of realities, you're more my client than they're my clients.
Right.
Because the thing is you're the one referring me to the business. We get the job done with them, but usually it's the transaction and it's over with, right? And if I did a great job, they might even refer me another person somewhere down the road. But the thing is that you are definitely more my client than that client is, because if I want to keep getting business from you, I got to make sure I do what I was supposed to do. And so, and a lot of times people don't realize that, okay, yeah, you might take great care of the client, but I never gave you an update.
Right.
I never,
you left me in the dust.
That's you in the dust, right? And it's be like, well, the client knows, but I don't know.
Right.
And that's what I try to tell people, even the listing agent. So if I'm the loan officer and I'm taking care of them, I want my buyer's agent and I want the listing agent to know what's going on at all times, right? Hey, here's where we're at. Here's what's going on, whatever. Give them some communication. First of all, then they're not coming to me asking me questions. And second of all, then a lot of times what happens is you see the seller's agent go to the buyer's agent, what's going on? I haven't heard anything. And then they call me, Chris, what's going on? I haven't heard anything. Right?
If it gets to that point, it's,
it just gets ugly. And the thing is you got to make sure that you're partnering with the right people.
Absolutely.
And,
step number one.
And the thing is you want to have good partners in your side, and I'll tell you, I fired agents. I fired real estate agents because some of them could just be over the top. And before, when I first got into business, I was I would just take every real estate agent. I work with every real estate agent. But then what you soon find out is that some of the agents, and nothing against that's just the way they are, but they can be very needy. And so like, and it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to do a job here, and so like, it's like not everybody works together.
Right. Not everyone is for everyone. I'm not for everyone. You're not for everyone. Right. And that's okay.
Yeah. There's plenty of business out there, and that's the thing. It's like, some of my best friends are lenders. I mean, so like the thing is like, and there's enough business out there that go around. I mean, I've got a really great friend that's a lender. And so like, he works for a different company. I work for a different company, but we don't ever compete. I mean, it's not like it's that kind of business. So you could still have great friends in market. I mean, look at you guys, the realtors. I mean, you guys are very close in this market, right? So I mean, there's the Women's Council. There's all kinds of different things going on.
Need that. I mean, this industry, it can be a lonely industry. You're your own boss technically. You hang your license at a brokerage, but you're operating your business. Not on your own, but kind of on your own. And when you can go through a deal and know the person at the other end of the table, it's so much, it makes all the difference. And if you can just, if you can know most of the people that are in the industry, it really does help you along the way.
Oh, yeah. Because there's been times I've done the transactions and like where I'm the lender on the deal, and I know the listing agent, and we've won deals because I know who they are.
I know.
And so it's like it's like, oh, okay, you're working with Chris, and I know Chris.
Yep.
Right. So it's the same thing. It's like you know them, they know you, they feel comfortable with you, and so like there is a method to that madness. As crazy as it might be, because I mean, in sales you got to be competitive, but there's also the other factor into it. It's like, what, I know who they are, I know how they work, and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, there is a lot of camaraderie in this business too. And so, you just kind of got to figure out. So then you got your license. So let's get back to this again. So like,
the timeline of everything.
Right. So back to timeline. So the next, so you were doing stuff, you hung your license here, Preferred SHORE. When did that transition into, because what exactly, are you marketing? What's your
So that's a very good question, Chris.
What's your official title?
My official title is, so I do business development and I do recruitment for Preferred SHORE. It's kind of organically shifting in addition to those two things as agent support. So onboarding the new agents as you come in. So, I mean, Preferred SHORE is known for its luxury experience, right? We have so many beautiful luxury listings, and we provide our clients, our buyers and sellers, with this luxury experience. But we also do that for our agents too. So when you're thinking about joining a brokerage, Preferred SHORE is going to provide you with this luxury experience as an agent. Like how wonderful is that? So I have been networking this whole time and really been able to kill two birds in one stone almost. I'm already going to these wonderful events, and I'm representing Women's Council of Realtors. It was an organic shift for me to join SHORE officially, So, and I have been enjoying it. I feel so much peace with it. They are wonderful here. Robert, our broker, might be the smartest guy I've ever known.
Yeah, I mean, him and I just sit there and we get together and we can just talk for hours and hours because the thing is like his knowledge is just like, I mean, about, and not just real estate, I mean, even other things. It's just so knowledgeable. And like, I just absorb it like a sponge.
Me too.
So
something I keep telling myself, it's like, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm really in the wrong room. And that's something that I've forced myself to do, is get out of my comfort zone. I don't need to be the smartest person here. I actually want to be not the smartest person here, so I can learn from the smartest person here. So
because everybody's done things differently. Everybody's gotten to where they're at differently.
Yep.
Like, so, it's part of the reason why when I do these podcasts, because, the business owners that I have on the podcast, everybody's has a different story on how they got there.
Yep.
Right? How did they get there? What made them get there? Why did they do what they did? And so like that's really where you learn from their mistakes or whatever. And it doesn't, and you could take it across all businesses. It doesn't matter if I'm doing lending or if you're doing real estate or if you're selling cars or you're HVAC system, a plumber. Like there's all types of different leadership styles and all types of different things that might have gotten there. And everybody has a different style. So if there's anything you can take from the podcast, is that by watching them, you could take maybe your style is not for everyone, right? But I had Robert on, one of my first podcasts. Maybe his style is, right? Or maybe my style might not be everybody's, but your style is. So like that's why like the variety of having different things on and having different people on, is because the thing is like we're not all the same. So if you could take little nuggets from everybody, and then you just add them in, one of the things, there's an old Steve Jobs proverb, whatever you want to call it. You can't connect the dots until you get to a certain point. Like after you get to a certain point, like looking back at the future, right? So you connected the dot. Like you can't understand what's going on right now, but then looking in the future, you can connect the dots of why did this happen. And so like this happened for this reason or that happened, and now you put it all together and like, oh, now it makes sense.
There's a Bible verse, and I don't know what it is. You read the whole Bible and you'll find it. But there's a Bible verse that's very similar, and it says something along the lines of, you don't understand what I'm doing now, but I'm working it all for your good. So, I mean, I wake up every day and I'm like, you might not understand, but as long as you're obedient in it and you show up and you put in the work, it's going to make sense at some point. It's going to connect the dots somewhere.
Right. And if you put in the time, you put in the effort.
Yep.
That's what I try to tell people. If you put in the time, you put in the effort, it will eventually catch up, right?
Yep.
The thing is if you give up, and let's say you decide to give up tomorrow, and then next thing you know, is like, but if you would have lasted one more day, that might have been a turning point. You might have met that one person that could have changed your life.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. It's tough to struggle. It's tough to make those choices. It's tough to like set out and be, especially a business person who's going to be out on their own, whether it's your own business, your own company, whether it's a real estate agent, a loan officer, where your paycheck is dependent upon what you do. And I try to tell people this, and I try to make people understand this, because so many people are so scared to leave that paycheck because they know that the salary is there, but they're so scared to get outside of their comfort zone. And the thing is like I have these conversations where I can see it in them, and I know that they can do it, but the problem is they're so scared of letting go. And we have it's very in the world, we're also like customary to working that 9 to 5, making that check. You're right, because it's there. Instead of like, hey, if I would have just stepped out of my comfort zone, or if I would have just gone after a little bit more, then maybe I would have been able to do more. And the thing is it could change your life,
It's so funny that you're mentioning this. So when I think about going back to a 9 to 5, my skin crawls.
Oh, mine too.
So, and it's not even like a 9 to 5. I'd rather put in more effort into something else that is for me, or something that I really truly believe in and feel peace with, But there are some people that corporate way of doing things and the 9 to 5 and the steady salary, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. If that's who they are and that's what they need, there's nothing wrong with that. It takes a special type of person to step out of that comfort zone and to go and build something for themselves, and that's why not everyone does it the right way.
Oh yeah. No, that's the biggest thing is like, a lot of people are happy with that. I mean, they're comfortable, right? And that's exactly it. They're just comfortable. But I mean, don't get me wrong. You can also make quite a bit of money in the corporate world working 9 to 5, right? There is a lot of good jobs out there, and there's a lot of good paying jobs out there.
And we need them.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we need people in those roles so that the world continues to run. You know what I mean? We need people as mechanics. We need people as plumbers. We need people that are CEOs running these big companies that, so there's a place for all of that.
Right. There's a place for everyone. It's just, finding the right, I think sometimes it's finding your right purpose and what you love to do. If that's, if you want to, like, I use an example of like being a musician or something, right? Okay, obviously, maybe it's a hobby or something that you want to take a little bit more into. Well, and it doesn't pay the bills. Well, maybe do something on the weekends. Do something at night. Go get the guitar lessons. Go do something that gives you some more purpose in life. It just, I think we get very stuck in our world, because the thing is like, and I love my job, and I've always loved, pretty much everything I've always done. But sometimes we gotta figure out things, and we gotta figure out.
You have to fill your cup in other ways. You can't continuously be pouring out of your cup. You have to do these things, whether they're the artistic things, the creative things, going to church, serving, whatever that is for you. you have to pour into your cup so that you can then pour out of your cup. You're pouring into your lending clients, you're pouring into your family, you're pouring into the other things, but you have to serve yourself first. Charity begins at home.
It's true.
The wise words of my dad. Charity begins at home, and it's
sometimes we forget about ourselves.
We do, and it's easy when we're in this business and we're building things for ourselves. It's like go, work, and you'll soon come to find that you have no more to give.
No, and then when we get back to me being sick, that's where I've gotten.
Yep.
And I burnt myself out, and I went so hard that eventually it just ended me up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing.
Wow.
So now when I do things, okay, I still do them like that. I still work like that, but I also will stop and take a break. I will also stop and put my phone away when I'm out to dinner.
I love that.
I will also stop and take a Saturday off. So there's just certain times now where I'm being more cognizant of it, and so I just was like, okay, do I really need to be doing that right this second?
Right.
And so whereas my family is more important right now, to give them the time and attention they deserve, to whereas not at all. I mean, and like I said, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, you got to take time for yourself, and you got to take time for what you're doing and what you're passionate about. And so, I mean, I love doing podcasts. And I love doing this.
Here
right?
we are. Yeah.
And so, but it does take time away from my work. Right. So, and then the thing is so now I'm going to have to go home and work after I'm done doing recording this, and probably work a little later tonight. And so, but it's okay. And so I make those sacrifices because I know down the road that it'll pay off. Right.
Yes. It's all a balancing act.
So so let's ask you, because let's go back to your timeline again.
Sure.
So
we're veering away from it,
right?
And
we keep going back. So I got to pull you back in.
Yeah.
So all right. So because the thing is I thought was pretty amazing is so last year I remember actually I don't know we were
where did we meet?
Well, we met at.
Because I feel like I've known you this whole time.
I want to say it was one of the events.
It had to have been an event.
Yeah. But I remember when they just asked you to be the elected president. Because I was it was either a day later you told it just had happened when you were, I think we just were finally getting to know each other.
Right.
And so
you probably were like, wait,
because the thing is because I mean the thing was my 2024, I was out most of the year. And so, but I remember when you got in that call and they asked you to be the president-elect, and you were like, what?
I said, who, me?
And I remember you being like, oh my gosh. And
well, it was just it was an honor just to be considered, let alone get it. So I just remember having this lunch meeting with the board members at the time and being very honest with them. Like, hey, do you guys know that I'm somewhat new and, getting into the industry? And they said, yes, we again, exactly what you said. We love the aura that you bring. We think that you have the ability to grow the association. We love your leadership skills. They saw all the things in me that you've kind of pointed out. And I think they also saw the dedication that I bring to the table with it too.
Yes.
I take it very seriously. It's something that I prayed on for a long time to be a good steward of. I don't want to have this I don't want to say a limelight, that's the wrong word, but I don't want to have this attention on me in this leadership role if I can't do it in the right way. So it is something that I take very seriously. It takes quite a bit of time, but it's something that I'm so passionate about. I truly have a serving heart. And that's always been true of me, years and years and years. So, if I'm going to serve, it's going to be in the right way. And Women's Council of Realtors, it's an association of realtors. So for those that don't know, it's an association of realtors. I
guess we should explain that.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that. But it is an association not just of women realtors, but men and women realtors. And we pour into them through leadership, through education, networking, which we throw some of the best events in the real estate industry by far. Networking, referrals, education. So it's this wonderful program. We have a board of directors, and we really make waves in the Sarasota and Manatee real estate industry.
So excited or nervous about next year?
Both. No, honestly, there's really not too much that like.
When does that happen? November,
December?
December?
Well, yep. So I'll be installed the beginning of November. I'll be installed as a 2026 president of Women's Council of Realtors. Okay. So
when's the official date though? Is like that?
We don't take that role officially until January.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
but it's like the inauguration.
Yes. It's very, we have an installation event that we're going to do at the Yacht Club, and that's when it will be announced, and then we'll officially and that's everyone on the board, so all of the people that are going to be newly installed.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's something that I was not expecting in my first year of real estate. It's something that absolutely took me by surprise. But again, it's, when you're lined up with God's will, He's just going to open the doors for you and, present opportunities that are just out of this world, and He's also going to equip you with what you need to do them, to get there, So I'm super excited. Our next event we have coming up. Can I plug our next event?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So we have our monthly event, which is Strategic Sips, and the next one is going to be May 21st. We're partnering with Sully and Martinez Law, and they're going to host us at JPan. So we're going to have sushi, we're going to have cocktails, drinks, and it's going to be a wonderful kind of intimate networking happy hour for our realtor members to connect with business partners so that they can grow that, vendor checklist and the people that they know and trust so that they can refer to their clients.
It's wonderful. Like that was the other thing is like just to watch you quickly how much you've grown in the last year or so. Going from realtor now to doing what you're doing here with Preferred Shores, going into that role with them, and then the thing is like so. One of the things I wanted to ask you is because you do a lot, and you are a lot of different places. How do you go about picking and choosing what's best?
Yes.
For you, because there is a lot. There's a lot of events, and I even struggle with this.
Yep.
Which event do I go to? Which event I don't go to?
So there's no rhyme or reason to it, truly. In the beginning, I was like, I'm going to go to everything. I'm going to do everything. And I quickly found that that's not the way to go. So it first starts out with what's going to connect me to the most agents. I do that for Women's Council, and I do that for Preferred Shore. So but then I think about it too, and when I'm working with agents and I ask them, when did we first connect? When did you first see me? Sometimes they say the most intimate events. Yeah. So we do.
They get to know you.
Correct. Yeah. So, and I'm also an agent as well. Right. So I go to listing pitches at Berlin Patton, and I pitch my own listings. And that I was talking to an agent, and she had said that she had first seen me at a listing pitch at Berlin Patton, and I was like this big ball of energy, and I was happy to be there, and I was pitching my listing, and we had some technical difficulties, so we were playing my video that Preferred Shore shot, wonderful media team. So we were playing that video, and it didn't have the sound connected to it.
Oh, wow.
So I was standing there, and what I decided to do in the midst of that was just narrate it in real life, because right. I'm standing right there. So she had said that when I did that she had always remembered me from that moment on, and we were able to connect a little bit later. She's since joined Preferred Shore. So it's always, you never really know. I mean, I've connected with so many different agents, and a lot of it is through social media. I met a lot of my realtors. Yep. So it's hard to say no. So I have some really good friends that are in the industry that I love to support. So I guess I kind of just go down the list of Women's Council is hosting these. These are my obligations that I have to be at and I love being at. And then it kind of just goes down the list of what are my friends throwing this week as far as events, because I've got friends that are now all embedded through the industry, whether it being restoration, lenders, any of that. So
that's pretty awesome. So obviously it takes a lot out of you, right?
It does.
Sure. So, and then that's the biggest thing because you do have a lot of different hats on. Uh-huh. So when you're sitting there and you're going, okay, so like obviously, so give us a time that you were like, I don't want to do this anymore.
No, I'm not there yet.
You're not there yet?
No, I really am not. No. And it's funny because I primarily work out of one of our beautiful conference rooms in our downtown Sarasota office. And Valerie, our vice president of our company, we have this joke where I need to have one of those cubes that I sit on my desk and it says business development. So when people walk by, they know I'm working for Preferred Shore, and then we flip it over and it says Women's Council Realtors President-elect. And then so that they know that I'm, on a board meeting via Zoom and doing something. And then we have another one where we flip it over where it says real estate agent, where I'm doing my own, I'm talking to my buyers and, this and that. But, something that really fills my cup is outside of me going to church and me really spending a lot of time in the Word and building a godly community is my family. My family is so wonderful. I have 2 of the cutest nieces on planet Earth, and they really do just fill my cup. When I go 2-3 weeks without seeing them, I'm not okay.
Right.
And so, as far as like feeling burnt out, of course, we're all going to feel burnt out at some point when we're at this level of going and going and going. But God's brought me here and He's sustaining me through it. And truly, I don't feel burnt out at all. I really don't.
So that's the hardest part, right? To getting to a certain point, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially with doing what we do and dealing with clients, dealing with this, dealing with that, right? If you're helping people, like as far as new agents, trying to help them, you're dealing with, that kind of stuff. It's, so like there's where like, when I look at you and I look at the personality that you bring to the table, and you're like, and to have that always, because the thing is like, it's tough. It's tough to be like that, right? And I tried it very hard to be positive of all times, right? I try to stay away from the negativity. If you're negative, I don't even want to hang out with you. I don't want to talk to you. Like, it's like, because all that does is bring my aura down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so like I'm sitting there, I'm trying to find, the right people. It is one of those things, your circle or your spear or whoever you want to talk about is very important in who you do that with, because you can look at it and you can be like, what is going on in my life? And then if you start looking at the people, your aura of people that are around you, and it could be somebody in your group and you don't even realize it. And you're like, now I see it.
Yep.
So
there are so many studies that are about exactly what you've said. So I'll tell you exactly who you're going to be by evaluating who you spend time with and knowing, the core 6 people that you spend majority of your time with. You're gonna be them eventually. So, if you play with winners, you're gonna be a winner. If you play with losers, you're gonna be a loser. If you play with people that have a negative outlook on life, right? They just bring you down. And sometimes they're in your family and you can't help it, right? But you have to combat that with spending more time outside of that, right? So I've been in situations where I have felt down. And I've evaluated where I've been spending my time recently, So there's also other studies that come back to, working. So like when you're hiring people to work for you, which I used to do in property management, or maybe when we're looking to partner with an agent to join Shore, a high performer will positively affect the people around them by, I think it was like 15%. So just sitting within, I think it was 15 feet of a high performer is going to affect the other people that are in the room. Sitting within 15 feet of a negative performer is going to bring down the productivity 30% versus bringing it up 15. So really it does have a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. For me, that was a godly community. I had to have accountability. I had to have people that were going to fill me up spiritually, encourage me to get into the Word. And I know that's not what it looks like for everyone, but I am a firm believer that you are who you spend time with. Iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. No, I'm very much like, that's the thing, is like I always try to make sure, like I said, that's where it came into the point of who I'm working with, because the thing is like, even, and I hate to say it because I don't like turning down business, but sometimes when you turn down business from certain people that will refer it to me, it's just because the thing is I know going into it, this is not going to be an easy situation. This is not going to be an easy transaction. And I'm going to be miserable for the next 30 days or 45 days, and so like, that's the thing, is like, I don't want that. Because then it rubs off. And then the thing is like, if you're down, your other people will see it, you know, and that's the thing. So like you can just, because you start dreading things and you start like, you know, you don't have the same positive outlook. And so like it's very easy to fall into that, and then trying to dig yourself out is twice as hard.
Right.
And so like I just kind of like look at it, okay, who am I spending my time with? Where am I getting my business from? Who am I talking to? Who am I learning from? You know, all those have a big influence on what I do. You know, and you know, and even like the events that we have. You know, when we talk about like you know, whether it's the Women's Council event or it's some other event or something like that, like, you know, I need to be choosy with what I do there.
Of course, yeah.
Because not every event is a good event. I mean, so like there's, you know, and I'm not like, I don't think I've had a bad event with the Women's Council, so we'll.
I was gonna say we're gonna edit that out really quick. I'm just kidding.
So like, I mean, but there has been other events,
what you're saying.
You know,
yes.
where it's like you show up and there's 5 people there or something like that, and it's just like, you know, it was just like, okay, well, like you said, you got to find the best use of your time, right? But if I knew like you're going to be there, or if Olga would be there, or somebody else is going to be there, that, you know, I know that I enjoyed spending time with them. You know, a good person is Blake from Sunshine Movers.
We love Blake. Yes.
So like, I mean, I just
best
love
moving company on the planet. Sunshine Movers, everybody.
I love hanging out with him. I mean, he's a great guy.
Have a good time.
I mean, and he's very strategic about what he does, and I learn from him, you know, and what he's done and how he's done it, you know, and even though the moving company world has nothing to do with what I do, but he's strategic, and his leadership does resonate with you. And so, and the thing is how he treats, one of the biggest things that I love about somebody like that is the fact that he treats his employees like their family.
Yes, he does. I've seen that firsthand.
And he will go out there and he will cook for them and make them breakfast, and they just are treated like their family. And that's such a unique thing, because most companies don't do that. Most companies don't care. You know what I mean? So like, it's just, it does bring you together, and it does, you know, bring that, well, this is like, if you leave the company, you're like leaving a family. You know, it's like, so like that's the, you know, I mean, it's a great way to really connect everybody and feel really comfortable with everybody and be happy with who you work with, because you want to show up every day and work with them.
When I look at some of the key players of the relationships that I've been able to build in this past year, whether that be through Women's Council, whether it be through real estate, Shore, any of that. I mean, Blake and his company, that's just one example of people that I love doing business with. I would recommend them in my sleep to my grandmother, I mean, to whoever. So, I mean, when I really step back and I look at all of the relationships, because Blake is one of many, right? All of these relationships that I've been able to foster, I just feel so lucky. I can't help but to think, you know, I'm so lucky to be here. I'm so lucky to be in this, you know, situation. And I should actually correct myself. It's not luck. It's just being blessed, you know. But as far as, I want to go back to something you said. You said, oh, I feel like 5 people showed up to this event, right? I challenge you to rethink that, because some of the events that 5 people have been at, I remember Women's Council had one of the strategic sips. It was during, it was spring break, right? And we had maybe like 8 people there, you know, and that is usually not the turnout by any means. We were kind of shocked. I was able to sit with all 8 people. I was able to sit down and have a conversation individually with all 8 people that were there. And some of them are going to be serving with us next year. They've chosen to volunteer for the fashion show committee. So, I mean, just because you're at an event that might have 5 people, I actually kind of like that. Every once in a while, it's nice to have a more of a intimate event where I'm not addressing a huge crowd. I'm addressing you, and we're talking, and I'm learning your name, you know? So, I don't know. I don't think it's a waste of time.
They have their good and bad, right? I don't know. So yeah, but like it's just one of those things when you're spending your time. I just think it's like looking at it from time spent wisely to times, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've been to events too like that I've gone to, and I have hit it off with like even just one person,
Yep.
and then next thing I know that they're sending me business or whatever,
right?
And
that to me is time well spent. I mean,
so there is those events that you do find those, when we go back to like Blake, but one of the things that I've also found, and especially in our world, is that a lot of people that I've become like that are either agents or whether they're in a different industry, whether it's a insurance company, whether it's a Blake or somebody like that, they become friends.
Of course. Yes.
And they're not just, hey, they're a moving company, they're friends. And so like, I've become friends with so many of my agents, and I was just actually on the phone with another one of my agents before I came in here, and and I was on the other line. I swear I was, and then I clicked on other line, and I say, hey, I'm on the other line, and call you right back because I have the auto thing on my phone.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's like, don't give me that. And she's like, you just didn't want to talk to me. Like, that's what she texted me.
Yeah.
And so, like...
That's not what she texted you. She texted you a 4-letter word.
She
said,
did.
Don't give me that.
Yep.
You know what?
It was that. So...
It wasn't me on the phone, guys. It wasn't me, I promise.
So, no, she did say that. And so, like, she's like... She gave me the 4-letter word.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I was like, oh, I'm calling with your giant F you.
Yeah.
And so she's like... So, but it's like, the thing is, it's like once you got to that level,
yeah,
and you have those relationships with those people, it's special, and it's where you can joke around and like, because stuff is going to happen, right? We always know this, and we always know things are going to happen. It is the way of the industry, and it doesn't matter whether it's on my side, whether it's on a different side. You just learn how to work through it, right? I mean, things are going to pop up. It's nothing I can do about it. It's nothing you can do about it. I mean. I didn't know that the roof was, going to not pass inspection, right? And that's
it's
the
not
thing.
If, it's when.
Yeah. So like, and it's how you handle it, right? So when I look at a situation, I look at it, and when something does pop up, I look at a way, how do we resolve it?
Right.
And how do we get past it? Whether it's a financial issue, whether it's something else, how do we make this deal still make it work? Okay, here's your options. At least I'm coming to you with options.
Right.
Whether those options might work for you or not, at least I'm thinking about it.
Right.
Okay? I'm not just going to sit here and go, okay, yeah, this doesn't work. Sorry, you can't buy your house.
Of course not. Gosh.
I've seen it though. I've seen it, and and it's unfortunate, and and it just it's. But I want to make sure that they have the best options that are out there.
Right.
And working alongside, whether it's the realtor, whether it's a home insurance company, a roofing company that will go maybe put a roof on, and then they'll do it and put the roof on and get paid at closer. Right. So there's ways to work around things. Sometimes you just got to be creative and be like, okay, well, how do we make the deal work?
Right.
And so, like, and I think that's a huge key. And then that's also that bonding thing and that trust thing that you have with the people. Because you got to trust who you're working with, and it's like, okay, because, again, if you refer out somebody who's a roofer and they screw up the roof, who do you think they're calling? They're not calling the roofer, they're calling you.
Of course. As the realtor, you're people think that you are the glue,
really.
and many times you are the glue. So absolutely, if that vendor is looked at as an extension of you and they mess something up, things happen. I get it. Not everything is perfect, but it is poorly reflected on the realtor at that point, which again just goes to what I said. It's important to really trust who you're working with.
It's very important. So what else is going on? Anything else?
Just, really, really enjoying my role here at Shore. I started with them. It's been about 3 months or so. So I'm just really excited to see how it evolves. We've got our strategic SIPs coming up for Women's Council Realtors. And then, as everyone knows, we've got fashion show. We put the deposit down. We're going to be at the Ritz again.
Awesome.
So we've got that coming up. So if you're interested in being a model for the fashion show, let me know. But yeah, we're just excited for all of the fun events that we have coming up, all of the good that we're doing with Women's Council and Preferred Shore, of course.
I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful.